how I created my first game. In this video, I will talk about my 3-year journey, from being a complete beginner to creating my first game. I will share the difficulties I encountered, the mistakes that almost made me give up, and what helped me finish the game. Well, enjoy watching! It all started with Minecraft. I first got into programming by making datapacks. A datapack is basically a collection of files that lets you change how the game works. With them, you can control the time of day, change the weather, summon mobs, and a lot more. I loved coming up with new ideas, adding cool features, and creating unique mechanics. And at some point, I thought, if I can change an existing game, why not make my own? Since I had no idea how games were made, I started searching for information and gradually put together my own game development plan. Step 1. Choosing a game engine. I had several options. Godot Lightweight, completely free and open source, great for small 2D and 3D projects, but at the time its toolset was limited and there weren't many learning materials. Unity, a universal engine for both 2D and 3D. Large community, lots of tutorials, free assets, and uses C#, which is easy to learn. Unreal Engine, a very powerful engine, ideal for 3D and large-scale games. However, it's more complex and takes more time for beginners to learn. The entry threshold is higher. In the end, I chose Unity because it's easier to learn and fits my needs better. Step 2. Choosing the graphic style. I considered several options. Pixel art, a beginner-friendly style that doesn't require advanced drawing skills. You can create sprites and animations quickly. Vector graphics, images made of shapes and lines. This style looks clean and polished, but requires experience with graphic editors. Voxel graphics, 3D pixels, similar to Minecraft or Teardown. Looks stylish but requires experience. Since I had no drawing experience, I chose pixel art as the most accessible option. Step 3. Choosing the game idea. I realized that making a game overloaded with mechanics would be a big mistake. With my limited experience, I might never finish it. That's why I decided my first game should be as simple as possible without complex systems. I started learning programming using free resources, mostly watching videos on YouTube. At first, I learned the basics of the language, tried to understand the logic of the code, and attempted to repeat the examples. Over time, I managed to write my first minigame. It's hard to call it a full game, but for me, it was an unforgettable experience. I studied C# from November 16th, 2022 to December 11th, 2024, almost 2 years. But to be honest, I took breaks from time to time. I started learning Unity and in parallel began working on my game. I came up with the idea even during the planning stage. The point of the game is that you control a ball that must dodge weapons. That's why I named the game Dodge Weapons. Over time, the speed and frequency of weapon spawns increase. The main goal is to survive as long as possible. I would call this genre an endless game, which allowed me to significantly reduce development time since I didn't need to create dozens of levels. I once saw a similar game, the same idea, but I specifically didn't look it up, so I wouldn't copy it or rely on it. When I wrote down on a separate sheet everything I wanted to add to the game, I started development. First, I drew the background and the player. Then I replaced the background in the project, added the swords, implemented player movement, set up weapon spawning, and added a timer. The main part of the gameplay was ready. Next, I worked on the main menu, added buttons, set up scene transitions, and displayed the best score. The next step was creating the defeat screen, from which you can go back to the menu or restart the game. At this point, the game was already fully playable, but it lacked customization. So I created a shop where you can buy skins for coins and emeralds. You get coins simply for surviving. Every 10 seconds, one coin. Emeralds appear during the game and you need to collect them manually. At this stage, dodge weapons was about 90% complete compared to my original plan. And at that moment, I hit burnout. Because of my lack of experience, even simple tasks took a lot of time. I constantly had to fix bugs and look up information. I worked on the game for 6 hours a day, while also studying in college. And considering that I live in Ukraine, air raids and occasional power outages also took a toll on my emotional state. In the end, I burned out. The 14th of January 2025, I stopped developing the game. In 34 days, I made much less than I had planned, and at that time, I absolutely didn't want to return to the project. But one day, sometime later, I decided to launch my game. After playing for a couple of minutes, I realized that I didn't like how it looked, because I didn't know how to draw sprites at all. So I decided, while I'm on a break from programming, I will learn pixel art. I started drawing art. Here are a few examples of my works that I created while learning pixel art. You most likely wouldn't be watching this video if, after this break, I didn't return to developing dodge weapons. After 8 months of rest and studying pixel art, September 3rd, 2025, I continued working on my game. At that time, I learned about the possibilities of neural networks and started using them to search for information, fix errors, and help with coding. The first thing I did was completely rewrite my old code. It was in terrible condition. Then I redrew almost all the sprites in the game. Now you can see how the game looked before and after the graphics update, as well as its final version. I would also like to mention the authors whose materials I used in the game. I used a sword pack created by ARoachIFoundOnMyPillow. All the music in the game was composed by Zane Little, a dedicated composer who creates atmospheric tracks. And I also want to thank Justin Halek, who created the sound generation program I used in my game. All these materials are distributed under the CC0 license, which does not require attribution. But I will still leave links to all creators in the description out of respect for their work. After 3 years of learning programming, I was able to create my own game. And now you can play it absolutely free on itch.io. Thank you for watching this video. I spent a lot of effort and time on this journey, and if you liked it, I would be incredibly grateful for supporting a beginner indie developer with a like and a subscription to the channel. Please let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I'm not saying goodbye, see you soon.